Okay, once again, welcome to this webinar on IT4IT and the digital enterprise. My name is Connie Time. I'm from the marketing team at ITpreneurs. I have a very easy job today. I'll be your host and moderator today. And I'm joined by three very experienced speakers. So first of all, my colleague, Arjen Woodson. He is our VP for R&D. And I will introduce the other two speakers shortly. I just want to mention that during this live broadcast, you can submit your questions in the chat box, and we'll cover as many as we can during the Q&A discussion at the end of the webinar. So today we are joined by two IT4IT experts. First, we have Jim Hietala. He is the VP Business Development and Security at the Workgroup. He is certified in multiple security certifications, and he has actually led the development of numerous IT security and risk industry standards and best practices. And we also have Michael Fulton. He is president of the Americas division of CC&C Solutions. He's the author of our IT4IT course, and he's also the co-chair for the IT4IT Adoption Workgroup and member of the Global Steering Committee for IT and for IT. And Michael is certified in multiple frameworks in the IT architecture domain. And he is an experienced speaker, and also he wrote a lot in this topic about IT architecture. So let's run a number of poll questions to find out who has joined us today. So please describe the organization you represent. Please use the poll function to let us know. So your answers are coming in. And when finished, then I will share the results with all of you. Okay. I'm going to close the poll and share the answers with you. So as you can see that majority of the audience offer a mix of training and consulting. We also have some of the participants representing training or consulting companies or independent instructors. And some of you mentioned none of the above, probably because you represent end users organizations. Then the next question. What is your primary role in your organization? Okay, I'm going to share the results. So 1/3 of you have a consulting role, and then also another third are owner or partner. And it's great that we also have sales and marketing represented in this webinar, because we'll also talk about some of the messagings and values in relation to taking this portfolio to the market. Then the last poll question for today. Are you planning to add IT4IT to your portfolio when the exam is launched? Be interesting to get an idea. When we promoted this webinar to a lot of our partners and contacts, actually there's a lot of interest, and some of them actually contacted me recently, yesterday, and said, I won't be able to make it to the live session. Make sure you send me the recording. I'm really, really interested in this. Okay, so I'm going to share. All right. So as you can see that some of you are considering and some of you are undecided, so it is really good that we have this webinar and to get further understanding of this portfolio. So I'm going to present this overview of today's agenda. So we will cover these topics during today's webinar to give you an understanding of what is IT4IT, how it is complementary to some other frameworks, how it relates to the cloud and the digital enterprise, And we'll also explore the training opportunities available. And at the end of the session, my colleague Iron Wood will also talk about our portfolio and also working with us as a training or consulting provider. So without further ado, I am going to give the mouse and keyboard to Mike.
Great. It's nice to meet all of you while Connie's transitioning the control here for us to be able to move forward. I'm excited to talk to you today about IT4IT. As Connie mentioned, I actually lead the team within CC&C that's been actively working on building the courseware that ITpreneurs will be offering to you. In fact, I was working on that a little bit last night and this morning, trying to put the final touches on that courseware so it's ready to go when certification gets launched. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a few minutes. But this is, to me, a very exciting new standard that is very much needed within the industry. And hopefully, when we finish our discussion with Jim and I today, you'll have a better sense of that, and you'll agree with that perspective. So let's check out the controls here. It looks like the controls are working, so let's go ahead and get started. If you're not familiar with IT4IT, IT4IT is a standard that has been developed previous to the Open Group. It was an industry consortium, and then after 4 or 5 years of development under an industry consortium sort of a process, it was brought into the Open Group to really be managed as an open industry standard. So it is designed to provide a standard that's vendor neutral, technology agnostic, a standard that's all about managing the business of IT. Now, if we want to try and set this in your mind, and we'll talk in a lot more detail about this later on. If you think about the sum total of the scope of what ITIL is supposed to be about, when you talk about starting with service strategy all the way through continuous service improvement, we cover more or less the same scope, the entirety of everything that you need to do to manage the business of IT. Right? Now, what we'll talk about in here is how we use a concept called the IT value chain to drive IT execution in a way that's better, faster, and cheaper. You'll see through the conversation that this is designed to be a framework that is industry independent. It's not dependent on financial services or oil and gas or consumer goods or anything else you might think about from an industry perspective. IT is IT regardless of industry, and so this really is meant to be industry independent, designed to try and solve some of the problems that every single one of the companies that's out there that has an IT department is facing. We won't talk in detail about it, but we actually have done some research that even says that the IT4IT model holds true regardless of size of the company. So it actually works conceptually from companies as small as 2 people in a garage all the way up to the biggest $10 billion IT shops in the world. So we'll look a little bit about that. And finally, the idea with IT4IT on this last bullet point, really, IT4IT is designed taking into account the frameworks and methodologies that exist today. It's not meant to rip and replace all the things that companies have been doing. It's not meant to eliminate the need for ITIL or the need for lean IT or COBIT or any of the other things that might be in your consulting or training portfolio. It's meant to complement those things and bring to the table something that those frameworks didn't have. And we'll talk through this discussion what that looks like. Now, the first thing when we talk about IT4IT, we actually fundamentally are going to talk about 2 things that are the most common components of what we'll talk about in the visuals that we see. We're going to talk about the value chain, and we're going to talk about the functional model or reference architecture. Okay? This is the IT value chain that's been created as part of IT4IT. The IT value chain is a business-driven model. We've used Porter's value chain approach to develop a visual that talks to how we provide value through the delivery of IT services across the entire life cycle. And so this is fundamentally something that if you looked at other frameworks, you wouldn't see. You wouldn't see a value chain approach to the management of IT. That's something that is unique with IT4IT, and we think adds tremendous value. This talks about the why we do IT, right? Now, one of the things that's important to note when we talk about this is that when you talk to senior leadership, this visual representation of IT resonates. Okay, I've talked to a lot of CIOs and senior leaders at different IT organizations around the world, and I have never had anybody take a look at this picture and not quickly understand it, quickly grasp it, quickly see the value of it. So this resonates with CIOs, and that's an important piece that is very helpful for people to understand. But not only does it resonate with CIOs, it also resonates with IT professionals. From the people that are on the help desk to the people that are in the development shop to the people running the projects, everybody should be able to see themselves in this visual. And that's a key important factor with making sure that we've got this IT value chain right. Now, we talk about the why, the IT value chain, but then we take that next step, that next level of detail into the what. And in the what, that's where we talk about the IT4IT reference architecture. You'll see the visual here, and on the next slide we'll get into it in a little bit more detail. But the big thing to remember when we talk about moving from the why and the what down to the what and the how is that ultimately this is all about the data. It's about understanding the functionality. These are functional components that you'll see in this reference architecture that we'll look at in more detail in just a second. But the circles on this picture are data objects. This is all about understanding the flow of data throughout the IT organization and what kind of data is needed to really optimize how we do work in IT. All right, so that's a key, again, a key differentiator. When we talk about IT4IT, we're not talking about process. We're talking about data, and we're talking about information systems. So that's, again, another key differentiator. Now let's look at a little bit more detail. It was a little bit of an eye chart, and unfortunately it's still even a little fuzzy on this. But this is the detailed reference architecture. And you can see via the text down at the bottom, you can see how the different functional components line up to the value streams that we saw on the other chart. You can see the strategy to portfolio is the 5 functional components on the left. Requirements to deploy is the 9 that are there in the center. Request to fulfill. This is this request to fulfill one. I'll highlight as a key additional value stream that didn't necessarily show up in a lot of other models. This is really about service orientation and bringing a service orientation into our way of thinking when we manage IT. So this whole, historically we've had a plan, build, run. This whole value stream around deliver or request to fulfill is, again, a new element that's important to changing how we think and making sure that that we can manage IT effectively, even in a world of cloud, big data, Internet of Things. And then the last one, the one that really is probably got the most rigor around it in the industry due to some of the things that ITIL and other frameworks have put forward, this idea of detect to correct, which is really the run or operate space. Now, when we talk about IT4IT, we had to have a reason for it, right? So there was a set of problems that we were faced within the IT industry that we were trying to solve with IT4IT. One of those was the fact that IT historically has tended to be fairly siloed. We did not have a lot of cooperation, collaboration across the different groups within IT. You'd have silos with your project management office, your development teams, your operations teams. Everybody was kind of working off on their own, and what we saw was there was very little cooperation among IT. Now, some of that's been addressed through things like DevOps, but IT4IT is also taking an attempt at trying to address some of these from a slightly different perspective. The second one, and this is really the perspective we were going after with IT4IT, is this concept of insufficiently integrated IT tool sets. Right? So if you've been in IT for any period of time, you know that you probably have a project management system, you probably have a help desk system, you probably have systems that you use to develop code with, and you're probably very well aware that those systems very rarely talk to each other. We don't have data that flows throughout the life cycle of IT, and that makes it very difficult for us to collaborate across those boundaries and get work done. Right? We also see that while there's lots of great frameworks and lots of great content out there that is descriptive in nature, that tells us how to do stuff at a process level or a best practice level, what we didn't see was a lot of prescriptive guidance that would really help us architect systems and really bring things together. So that's one of the elements that we were trying to do when we put forth IT4IT. Now, if you think about the time frame on which IT4IT was created, one of the things that was going on, this is right in that time when there was a tremendous shift going on in the fundamental IT operating model for most organizations. Organizations were grappling with concepts of Agile and DevOps. Organizations were struggling with shadow IT. Organizations were dealing with cloud and big data and Internet of Things. And what we saw was that the existing frameworks really didn't address those things, didn't handle those things very well, and so there was a need to figure out how we're going to deal with these things moving forward. And so that's the kind of things that we were trying to deal with when we put IT4IT together. Now, one of the things that we always like to talk to here is the value, right? It's important to understand with anything that we do, what's the value that we're delivering back to the business. And so that's part of why we use this concept of the value chain as our starting point. But then when we look at the work that we're doing within IT4IT, we also want to understand the value that this particular framework can deliver. And so there was a study done by Gartner a number of years ago that looked at IT4IT and how the business of IT was being managed by most companies. And as you can see from the quote here, that study found that for an IT function that was $1 billion approximately, you could expect a benefit of 5 to 20% of your total budget by implementing IT4IT because of the struggles that IT organizations were going through. And I would say that in my experience, I've not seen a lot of companies that have got this nut cracked yet. I think this is still an issue for companies, and I think the opportunity is still there for the vast majority of companies, and it seems to be only getting worse as our industry accelerates. So I talked a little bit about some pieces that are different when we talk about this, but to really kind of very clearly lay it out for you, I think there's fundamentally 4 things that are different with IT4IT versus some of the other frameworks that are out there. The first thing, and we talked about it right up front, is this idea of a business-oriented approach and the IT value chain that was created as part of this model. I think that that is something that helps leadership understand the framework a lot easier, and I think it also reflects on the entire perspective of the framework, with our eyes focused back on how are we ultimately as IT delivering value back to the business. Okay. The second key element that's highlighted here is this concept of service orientation. All right, and we talked a little bit about the request to fulfill value stream. We don't have a lot of time to talk through all the details today, but if you were paying close attention on that reference architecture slide, you might have noticed that some of the data objects were actually in a different color. There's a whole series of purple data objects along the bottom of the reference architecture that are what we call the service backbone. So in the reference architecture, or the functional model, there's actually a set of data objects that follows the life cycle of a service from concept through to delivery. And that service backbone is a key differentiator for IT4IT. It really drives the focus on this concept of a service orientation. The third thing, most frameworks that are out there in the IT management space are very business process or best practice focused. IT4IT is a little different. IT4IT has a very minimal focus on process and best practice. IT4IT's focus is really on data and applications. So it's all about the functional model, it's about the information model, and it's about the flow of information throughout the entire value chain. And then finally, the other thing that I think is important about IT4IT that is not true for all of the standards that are out there in the IT management space is that it is an open standard. Any company can engage with, any company can contribute to the standard. It's run with an open standards process, the same process that manages TOGAF, the same process that manages Unix, two other significantly well-known open standards for the industry. And Jim could talk about probably many others that are managed. But it's a very rigorous open standard process to make sure that everyone gets a chance to contribute and really offer up their perspective and get it into the framework. I think that's a value add for IT4IT that's different than other frameworks. So let's keep going. Part of the idea here is that when we talk about an IT value chain and we talk about the value streams of IT, it's important that these chains link together. That's what gives a chain its strength, is the linkage between the different pieces. And so that's also true when we look at managing IT. Unlike historically, where a lot of the work ended up getting split or siloed, in IT4IT, we really try to focus heavily on bringing that flow, those connections between the various value streams. Now, what's in the model? So there is a publicly available reference architecture that you can get from the Open Group website, and there's some other great content. Some of the things that end up getting into the model, we actually have full descriptions of each of the functional components and each of the data objects. We have detailed level 3 reference architecture flows so that you can see how data flows from component to component. And most importantly, we have key performance indicators so that you can pick that up and use that and understand how should you be measuring the work across a value stream or across the IT value chain as a whole. Those key performance indicators are critical because they're focused on measuring the entire value stream They're not focused on measuring the functional component. Again, that's one of the things that historically you would see in other frameworks is a focus on measuring at what we call a functional component level, at a lower level of detail, versus measuring the flow of work across an entire stream. And that's one of the key differences here with IT4IT as well. Now, where are we at in the evolution of the standard? This standard's been in development for over 5 years. I can remember back in my days when I was an IT4IT architect at Procter & Gamble, when I was first approached by HP and Shell, who were the founding members of the standard, to participate in this. This has been around for a while. It's evolved and grown over time. It was brought into the Open Group back a little over 2 years ago. And it's now part of that open standards process and will continue to evolve and grow. We're targeting a major content release annually to make sure that this, at least for the current time, to make sure that this standard continues to evolve and grow and meet the needs of organizations in the industry. Our next release, as you can see here on screen, probably going to be a 2.1. We're targeting for October, November timeframe, fourth quarter of 2016. So I did want to talk this very briefly, since it is critical to the audience here. How does IT4IT fit with the rest of the kinds of standards that are out there in the IT industry? You can see here, IT4IT really is more prescriptive than most of the other standards for IT management that are out there. It is meant to work across Prince2 and PMBOK and COBIT and ITIL and CMMI and TOGAF and SAFE. It's meant to work with those things very nicely. It is for the management of IT. And to be clear, when I say IT in this context, traditionally, organizations have typically used IT4IT for the management of the IT departments, but it is not exclusive to that. It can be used outside of the IT department for management of information technology, regardless of where it sits. So it does still work in a digital world as well. Now, just to kind of give you a little bit of a flavor of this, and I'm going to move quickly on to IT4IT and ITIL, because that's the one that is most critical. So IT4IT is obviously that reference architecture for the management of IT and for the IT software. We used TOGAF as our enterprise architecture framework to help us develop IT4IT. We used Archimate to model IT4IT. So both of those open industry standards were used in the generation of IT4IT and the content that's held within that. And then ITIL helped inform what would go into IT4IT. We knew going in that this absolutely needed to work with ITIL, and that ITIL was a great repository of best practice knowledge that's been around for a long time within our industry. We needed to account for that. We needed to build on that. We needed to work with ITIL, and so that's what we did. That's what was done. Connie, that looks like your screen. You want to take control and figure out what we need to do with that?
Yeah. So just one moment.
All right.
Yeah, is it working? No, let me see.
Yeah, I think you took back control.
There you go. Yeah.
All right. I'm not going to read through this. This will be part of your slides, but just to make sure you're aware of it, we did a fairly detailed mapping between IT4IT and ITIL. Obviously, ITIL is the 800-pound gorilla in this space. And we want to make sure that people understood that these two do fit together, that there is not an overlap between the two. So ITIL is really more of best practice content. It's more about processes and functions, and it's more about the details of how to do work. IT4IT is really a reference architecture. It's based on the information and the information flow and the functional components that are needed, the applications that are needed to support that. So they really are designed to really be two different things, but they work very, very nicely together. And then I think I got one more slide here that I'll close, and then I'll hand it over to Jim for a couple minutes here. One of the things I did want to talk real briefly about was IT4IT and the fit with cloud and the digital enterprise, since that's a key part of the topic that we're talking about today. So when I think about business transformation, I personally break down business transformation into the four distinct buckets. The first bucket is digital transformation, and that's really where we're trying to transform the business model of an organization. We're out there customer facing, we're out there transforming how a customer interacts with us and our company. Enterprise transformation is really more internally focused. We're looking inside at the supply chain, at our finance, our HR organizations. We're driving business process change within our organization. It's another key element of transformation that goes on. And then IT functional transformation. This is critical to us within the IT organization. We're trying to constantly improve and grow and make sure that we're following best practices and we're doing things in an effective and an efficient manner. And so we have to have some element of IT functional transformation to support all the other transformation that are going on around us. And then the last key element of transformation is the concept of technology innovation. When we talk about transformation, usually, most of the time when we do a major transformation effort within an organization, it involves some sort of technology innovation. Technology enables us to do things from a business process or a business model perspective we couldn't do before. And so we can do transformation without technology, but by bringing technology innovation to the table when we drive a transformation, it really ratchets up the transformation possibilities, and so that's a key piece of how things come together. Now, for me, in order to be able to do transformation correctly, you need to cover each of those elements, but the method for delivering transformation within an organization is really enterprise architecture. And so we've got tools, we've got techniques, we've got approaches to drive transformation that are tried and true, and we need to figure out how to apply those from an enterprise architecture perspective to the technology innovation that's coming to the market today, to the customer-facing portions of the organization rather than simply the enterprise-facing portion of the organization that we more historically have played at. Now, for the purposes of understanding how this kind of comes together, what you'll see here is that TOGAF is a framework that covers us and helps us drive transformation from an enterprise architecture method perspective. Cloud and Internet of Things are examples of that technology innovation that we're bringing to bear. But IT4IT is a framework that enables us to do both IT functional transformation as well as digital transformation. It allows us to support the digital transformation that the Chief Digital Officer or Chief Marketing Officer might be driving inside your organizations, because those folks are fundamentally delivering information technology to the organization, and they need ways to manage that and support that, just like the CIO needs to manage and support technology transformation within their organization. So IT4IT really is supportive of and a good fit with both IT functional transformation and with digital transformation. So with that, I'm going to pop up here on screen very briefly how you can follow up with me. I am available. I'd be happy to connect with you over LinkedIn or Twitter or Skype or email. And if you've got any questions to anything that we've discussed, and that information will also be available in the slides afterwards. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim Jim is, as mentioned, Vice President of Business Development and Security at the Open Group, and very knowledgeable about IT4IT as well. So I'll turn it over to you, Jim.
Okay, thanks, Mike. There we go. So I'll talk a little bit about value propositions for IT, get into a little bit of how the Open Group works, and then talk about the certification program that's imminent. So in terms of the value proposition, I think for the large end user organizations, the consuming IT organizations, the value proposition really goes back to that slide from Gartner that you showed, Mike, around for a large IT organization with something like $1 billion in IT spend, they could save 5 to 20% of their total budget. So that's a pretty powerful ROI and value proposition for using IT4IT to manage your IT function. For software vendors, and we're already seeing this happen, some of the software vendors are mapping their solutions portfolio to IT4IT. We think it gives them the ability to deliver integrated solutions at a lower cost, and then focus on other areas to differentiate and provide innovation. For software integrators, the ability to move beyond traditional process consulting, provide a faster, more predictable time to value, and a higher quality delivery at lower costs to customer organizations. We're already starting to see some large procurements of software and services referencing IT4IT in their procurements, which obviously will drive the adoption both by software providers as well as the integrators, and start to provide some ROI in terms of more business, to the extent that they support the standard. And then for individuals, there's an obvious personal professional development opportunity associated with IT4IT. In terms of who's been involved in building the standard, so as Mike mentioned, we have an open process for how we create all of our standards. There's an open governance process around what gets into the standards. We're happy to say that we've got contributions in the IT4IT forum from very large customer organizations, as well as service providers, consultants, training organizations, as well as vendors. So all of the companies you see referenced there have been involved in the development of IT4IT. In terms of the Open Group and how we do what we do, just a snapshot of kind of the processes and the approach that we have. So we feel that we enable user organizations of IT to do things better, faster, and cheaper. We do that through work groups and forums that develop standards, guides, best practices, and white papers. We enable suppliers of IT products and services to get business benefit, and we enable individuals to develop their skills and capabilities, and we do that through certification and accreditation programs of people, processes, technologies that meet our member standards. And it's worth noting that our membership is truly a global membership with over 500 member companies in 40+ countries, and we have staff and local partners operating in 12 countries around the world. And specific to IT4IT, we're happy to say that we've seen great interest in the standard, in the training opportunity from end users, from IT software and services suppliers and training organizations around the world. So it really, since we launched the latest version of the standard last October, we've seen a dramatic interest in IT4IT. In terms of published materials, I thought it'd be good to mention that. So the reference architecture version 2 standard is available on our website at the URL at the bottom of this page. Go to the Publications tab, and you can look for IT4IT related publications and find all of these things. There's also a set of reference cards, which are handy 8.5 by 11 cards for each of the value streams. We have published a couple of guides that are of interest. So there's a pocket guide to the IT4IT reference architecture, and also really a manager's guide to the IT4IT standard. Both of those are available on the website. You can also find hard copies of those through our publisher, Van Haren. And then we also have case studies, white papers, webinar recordings, and certification program documents that you can find on the website.
Jim, before you leave that slide, I would just want to throw in there, if you are a consultant, I strongly recommend the management guide. There is a tremendous amount of wonderful, rich content in that management guide that helps you understand how to actually work with customer organizations and implement IT4IT. So while the standard is great, the pocket guide are wonderful, the case studies are good, that management guide as a consultant, and I know we had about 35% of the folks on the call were consultants, that management guide is one that you absolutely need to pick up and take a look at if you're planning on bringing this into your practice.
Yeah, great point, Mike. Thanks. So in terms of training opportunities, when the forum was creating the standard, there was always a view that this would probably be something that it would make sense to enable training and certification of individuals for, in terms of who needs IT4IT and why. IT executives need to understand the framework to transform their organization. Professionals need to understand the framework to improve the quality of their work through appropriate context from IT value streams. Service providers can use it with clients as a reference architecture for transformation projects. And we think it's a long-term potential target market with really all professionals working in various parts of IT needing to understand the IT4IT standard, how to apply it, how to use it, and so forth. So we have a certification program coming for IT4IT. It launches the week of our London conference, which is April 25th. It will be a knowledge-based certification, so knowledge of the IT4IT standard. There'll be a single level of certification currently, with plans to introduce other levels of certification over time. It'll be a 40-question multiple-choice exam for people certifying or attempting to certify, and individuals can self-study or take accredited training courses to help them prepare for the exam. And finally, for me, in terms of the training and accreditation, trainers are in the process of accrediting their courses now. We will launch the accredited trainers registry with the first batch of accredited training course providers during the launch week, April 25th. They can trainers can accredit with their own courseware or licensed standard courseware from the open group. And as with our other standards, TOGAF, Archimate, and so forth, we do have an affiliates program for IT4IT where accredited training course providers can nominate affiliates to conduct training with them. And full details of the training and accreditation programs are and will be available on our website at the training launch. So I think that's it for me. I think we're going next to Ariane.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and Connie, I hope you're giving me the controls of the slides also.
Yeah, one moment.
So thanks, Mike, very much for providing a very thorough overview of IT4IT, and also Jim for providing also a perspective of the open group and the relationship IT4IT within the open group. I first came in touch with IT4IT when I visited the last conference in Baltimore, and I really was impressed with the active community, the participation, and really the level of involvement from everybody who's been involved in building this framework. Obviously, ITpreneurs has a very active base in the IT service management and ITIL space, and that also makes this an extremely relevant course for us. I mean, as Mike explained very well, there's a very close relationship with ITIL. It's complementary, so it doesn't bite each other, but it really supports each other. And as a result of that, also, ITpreneurs really is looking forward to launching the course to the market, working with Mike as our lead author for the course. So with that, also, we're guaranteeing ourselves that we're really bringing on thorough subject matter experts to build a high-level program together with our learning design team. So for those who do not know ITpreneurs, and I looked at the list, and there are quite a number of people who are new to me, but maybe we're not new to you, but just to give you a bit of a brief feeling of why working with ITpreneurs, and then I'll also discuss a little bit more also of how you can work with us also for the IT4IT course that we're now developing and looking to bring to the market. So ITpreneurs is a service provider to training companies and consulting companies. What we do is we enable you, trainers and consultants out there, to be successful in your markets with IT training products. So we are building a very comprehensive library of IT training programs, and I'll share a snapshot of that in a bit, with the objective also for you to save cost. I mean, to avoid the hassle of building things yourself, maintaining products yourself. You can really easily get started with ITpreneurs without any investment, and that makes it also for a framework like IT4IT extremely interesting to see. Also, we can tap into that market that we believe really is out there for this program. So it allows you to be cutting edge, first to market with good quality products, like I was talking about before, and also Connie and her team do an extremely good job in enabling you, helping you to also build a proposition in your market with ready-made marketing collateral, marketing in the box, etc. And the last one here is on the slide is convenience. We aim to make life very easy for you. So with a 24/7 support team, you can always call us, you can engage with us, we can help you. We do everything we can to facilitate the process. We manage the accreditation also with the Open Group for you, working with us as an affiliate, what I'm going to come to in a bit. So what are the options for you also for IT4IT? So partners always have options with ITpreneurs. You can really work in a model where we do everything for you, or you work in a model where you basically only work with us on courseware. So, I mean, all the components from courseware to exams to services to trainers are available to you in a la carte menu. You pick and choose and decide what is most relevant to you. So if you have your own trainers, we train your trainers to make sure they are compliant with Open Group regulations. So we register trainers with the Open Group. We make sure there's a thorough trainer-trainer program. If you're looking for supporting services like administrative type of services or everything around the logistics of organizing courses, we can do that for you, supporting all over the world, so we have a global presence. We can offer you the courseware and also the exams for IT4IT, or if you, like I mentioned, want to just have an interest in licensing the courseware, that's definitely possible. So those are some of the key value or the key benefits of working with ITpreneurs. The Open Group, like most of the accreditors out there, have a specific model of how to engage with the Open Group and also how to take training products to the market. So there basically are two options for you. So Jim mentioned trainers, and when he's referring to trainers, he's referring to ATCs, so accredited training courses. So the courses accredited with the Open Group, not the organization. It's a bit of a different terminology as perhaps some of you are used to in the ITIL space, where ATCs are typically referred to as ATOs. But in essence, it comes to the same thing. So if you are interested in becoming an ATC yourself, then that's possible with the ITpreneurs courseware. The benefits of being an ATC mean that you get registered on the Open Group website. You get ability to publish your courses also in the Open Group schedule that is on the Open Group website. And it allows you to offer also the IT4IT program under your own brand and under your own title. So you have to go through an accreditation process, and there are fees involved also, and the fee schedule is something that we can discuss with you in more detail. I think it's too much for this introductory call, but something we can explain to you. The alternative, and that's what most of ITpreneurs customers are leveraging, is the affiliate model. Open Group introduced the affiliate model a year and a half ago, approximately a year and a half ago. An affiliate model actually is quite similar to the affiliate model in ITIL. So it means that that you do not really have to go through all of the hassles of the accreditation. So you basically register with ITpreneurs as an affiliate, and we help you to complete all the paperwork to do that. There's a one-time affiliate fee associated with that, and then just like with the ATC, there is a commercial license that's required to leverage the intellectual property of IT4IT. But other than that, we manage everything for you, so you can leverage the accreditation of ITpreneurs, the process that we went through, license our course materials, use our instructors, use your own instructors if you would like to, and we can offer you an end-to-end solution, including, for example, the offering of the exams. So those are the two options, and it's up to you to really decide which option makes most sense. The brand recognition and the accreditation process are the easy to get started approach to leverage the accreditation of ITpreneurs, and our team is ready also to help you to navigate you through this process. So I mentioned comprehensive portfolio. So this is a snapshot of some of the IT training products that we are bringing to the market. These are certification titles, and next to that also we offer many what we call workshops. So those are training courses that do not necessarily lead to a certification, but help IT professionals become better in a specific job or function. The architecture portfolio is on the right. So ITpreneurs has been offering TOGAF for quite a long time, and a lot of our customers are using TOGAF, whether it's the e-learning or the classroom version of the product. We're doing an update right now, actually, of the portfolio. So just like IT4IT has a yearly release schedule, for us the TOGAF portfolio is also so important that we also go through a yearly release schedule and keep improving the courseware based on the feedback from our customers. We also just became accredited with Archimate for Archimate, so we're about to offer Archimate as well to our portfolio, and happy to do that. I mean, we really have a lot of confidence in the relationship with the Open Group, and we're very proud to be able to offer the portfolio, and that's why we keep extending the portfolio with the Open Group, and that's also why we're now developing IT4IT. I cannot commit to a release date yet for IT4IT. I mean, Mike is working very hard with our team, and we're really looking forward to release the product as soon as possible and close to the release date also of the London conference. I'm going to be there also in London, so if you would like to meet up in London, that's an opportunity to come and talk to us. The last one, as you can see in this architecture portfolio, is a professional cloud solutions architect program. Also a very interesting program, and helps architects to really understand how to navigate and deal with cloud computing. But again, just a snapshot of the portfolio. It's there's a lot that may be of interest to you, depending on what you do and where your interests are, and that's what we're doing in the market.
Yes. If you go back to that slide for just a second, I would jump in and just make one quick mention. While IT4IT is a reference architecture, the IT4IT Foundation course is actually targeted at a much broader audience than simply the architecture community. So that's something that's important for folks to keep in mind. As we get into higher levels of certification with IT4IT, it may be more targeted at architects, but the relevance of IT4IT really is to the entire IT professional industry, not just the architecture group. So as you consider that for your portfolio as a trainer or as a consultant, I would ask you to keep that in mind. Really think about it in the context more of where you would see ITIL playing than where you would see a TOGAF playing. IT4IT is going to be a much broader target audience, at least for the foundation level training.
Yeah, that's a very good addition, and unfortunately we're labeling indeed the products only with one domain, but it makes, I mean, it's a much broader program indeed, and very relevant for all of those also in the IT service management space. Thanks for the addition to that, and also when we're looking to bring the product to the market, we will provide a lot more guidance also on how to position this and who to target the portfolio to, and how it's relevant to, for example, if you have a specific portfolio that you're offering today. Good, and that's all for my piece was very short. I hope it was a valuable webinar. I found it again a very interesting webinar, and I'm handing it back now to Connie. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Arjen. So Actually, right. So if you're not a partner yet with ITpreneurs, you can even become one very easily. So we work on a B2P model, so business to partners. So we don't compete with you, we don't offer trainings, and our goal is to accelerate your business, to help you become more successful. So this is our contact details if you would like to get in touch with us. And then we will have just a bit of time to answer some of the questions that have come in. So there were quite a lot of questions that came in during the talks, but in the meantime, I think a lot of them have been covered in the presentation. But I can see that there are two more that we would like to answer right now. So one of them asks, please advise what's the difference between COVID and IT4IT. So it's either a question for Mike or for Jim.
Great. So this is Mike. COVID and ITIL are the two frameworks that are most commonly compared with IT4IT. COVID and ITIL both have a fairly similar scope, but they also both have a focus on process. ITIL is a little more focused on the operations side of the house. COVID is a little more focused on the governance side of the house. IT4IT is really focused on trying to look at the value chain as a bigger picture, and really focused on the flow across all the different elements of the value chain. So IT4IT inherently doesn't provide an overly detailed sort of focus on any particular topic, but instead looks at the bigger picture. But again, COVID and ITIL are both relatively process focused. IT4IT is more data and information systems focused.
Okay, thank you. So there is a question regarding the cost of offering IT4IT becoming an affiliate. So if an organization is already offering, for example, TOGAF, how does that work?
So this is Jim. I'll go ahead and take that. I think, I mean, the details for IT4IT, pricing of the training program and so forth will be revealed on the 25th of April. I think it'll look a lot like Archimate. So if you look at what it costs somebody to get going as an affiliate for Archimate, that material is published on our website. You can have a look at that, and that should give you a clue as to what it looks like, either to become an ATC provider or to become an affiliate of one.
Okay, thank you.
And
the
Arya,
process?
I think you would want to add in details about IT4IT courseware specifically through ITpreneurs. Is that correct? Do you have any details for them on that?
We've not defined the final course pricing yet. I do not have it available immediately, but our customers, partners can contact our sales team through their regular channels to get that information. The pricing of the courseware will make sure that it's attractive in the market to make sure organizations are able to get started with the program. And the process of working with us for IT4IT is similar to starting to work with us on TOGAF and on Archimate. It means it's a fairly standard, straightforward partnership contract accompanied with the specific documentation that are required for the open group. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for customers.
Okay. I think there is one more question here. What is the process to become a trainer for IT4IT?
So
this is Jim, go ahead.
To become a trainer, you have to think first about, do you want to become an ATC provider or do you want to be an affiliate of one? If you look on our website, there's complete documentation about how to go on either path. effectively to become an ATC provider, you have to either submit your own course, submit a fair amount of documentation about how you deliver training to the market, what your quality processes are, the financial viability of the training organization, and so forth. Again, all of that information, if you go to the opengroup.org website, look for training and certification, you'll find links to how to do all of that. As well as if you pick the affiliate path, how do you get started on that? How do you get the ATC provider to nominate you as an affiliate? What sort of documentation you need to provide, and so on.
Okay, thank you. With that, we have covered all the questions from the participants, as I can see, and we have come to the end of the hour as well. So I would like to thank Jim and Mike again for this great session, and also Arjen for explaining our portfolio and how you as audience, as training providers, work with ITpreneurs. So when we close this webinar, there will be a quick survey that pop up. One of the questions is also, how would you like to follow up after this webinar? So if you would like to have a conversation with us about working with us on our training materials, please mention that in the survey and we will get back to you. So once again, thank you everyone for your participation today. And as you hear, there is already great demand in the market, a lot of interest. So we hope that we've provided you some valuable information to get started very soon when the exam is available in Q2. So thank you again and have a very nice day. Bye-bye.